Hi there, it's Karen Williams here, the book mentor from Librotas. And today I am delighted to welcome to the interview Sarah Ilaria Northe. Now, Sarah and I met a fellow contact, a former client of mine, Emma Heptonstall's book launch up in York, and that was summer of 2017. And Sarah, synchronicity, we met and you said, Karen, I need to write my book, and you could say the rest is history. So Sarah is the author of this book, and I'm sure you've got a copy there to promote, Find Your True North. And she is an experienced coach, a trainer and a healer. And she runs a really special type of coach training, which helps people to really get to grips with their own stuff. That's my definition of it, to be able to help their clients with their transformation. Her clearer model is what she teaches to her coaches. She's taught hundreds, thousands of coaches over the last, quite a few years. And that sounds terrible, doesn't it? And I know that you're an amazing coach, and I'm delighted to have supported you through the journey of writing and publishing your book. So today you're going to share some of your tips, some of your strategies, some of the things that worked, some of your challenges. So thank you, Sarah. Thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
So yes, we met summer 2017. What was the prompt that tipped you over the edge to actually go and write your book, or start writing your book back then?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that I'd been asked, it'd been suggested to me over quite a long period of time to write a book, because when I'm teaching students, and I'm teaching them content, and content's always developing, and it's always exciting, and I'm always getting excited about new stuff and different stuff. And I would say sometimes I would struggle to give them a really good resource for what I was talking about. And certainly a resource that had everything in one place in terms of what I was talking about. And of course I had a program manual that goes with that one. You should write a book, like, yeah, and then I think it was literally as you said, I was sat in the audience and you said, anybody here feel like they need to write a book or want to write a book? And I was like, yes, I do. And therefore, I was just able to come and chat to you afterwards, and I think the fact that you were able to say to me, I can support you all the way through it. So I can support you to write the book, I can support you how to put it together, I can support you with the editing, I can support you with the publishing. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds like something I could do.
Yeah, I think hand-holding, I think when you're doing something you don't know, being handheld every step of the way. And I remember you saying to me, Sarah, it's like, I don't need to know the whole path, I just need to know the next couple of steps.
Yes. Yes, I can get overwhelmed if it's like, and then there's this and there's this, and it's like, okay, just back to the present moment, what are we doing next? Okay.
So how long did it take you on the journey? It was probably 2 years, give or take, wasn't it? I think we initially met up, wasn't it, in 2000? Yeah, it was 2017. It was September. You then came on a writing retreat to Spain that year and the following year, and you published it last year, end of 2019.
Yeah, well, I guess it was a kind of curious time to write the book, in the sense that I came along to Emma's book launch of her book, How to Be a Lady Who Leaves. And I came along as a friend, but actually, interestingly enough, at the time, I was trying to decide what to do about my own relationship and my own marriage. So actually, when I went through the journey of writing the book with you, as you know, even when I came on that very first writing retreat in September, I was making a decision, a really, really big decision about my future. And therefore, the writing of the book actually happened over probably the most challenging time of my life, I would say. Leaving a marriage of nearly 18 years and a partner of nearly 25 years. And I know I don't look old enough for that.
You don't.
I have to say it myself. But yeah, that was huge. So to be writing the book at the same time, at times was really overwhelming, and at times was like, I'm not sure I can do this, but actually with your help, with the breaking it down, it probably was a really important part of that journey, that personal journey that I was going through, to write at the same time. It was quite cathartic, and I'm sure a lot of people do go on big personal journeys when they write books. So
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it happens all the time. People don't realise, they think, oh, I'm going to write a book, but they don't realise the personal transformation, the personal journey they go when they're even writing, you know, a fairly practical book, that you still put your heart and soul into it, don't you?
Totally. Yeah, totally. This book was definitely written from the heart, written intuitively in the way that I coach and teach. And yeah, it's got a lot of me in it.
Absolutely. And also you're on the front as well. So yeah.
I know. It's funny because Sam, you know, a member of your team, obviously, who does the book covers and so on. You know, I remember the first conversation with her, I think, where she said, explained to her what the book was about and explained to her about, you know, my teaching and all of that. And she said, oh, you know, this feels like it's really, there's a lot of you in this. She said, have you thought about having you on the cover? And I sort of went, no. That's a bit bold, isn't it? I was a bit like, sorry about that. And yeah, here we are. I'm on the cover.
Well, so you published it about 8 months ago, towards the end of last year, and now we're in July.
Yeah.
What were the things that helped you to get to that end point of actually having your book in your hand, despite going through the challenges you were facing?
Well, I remember when I was thinking of writing a book, and I wanted to write a book that captured my teaching, like I've said. So I wanted a book that could be used as a resource for my students, so that when they're studying with me, they've got the teaching kind of in one place. And I wanted it to be something that potential clients could pick up, and people could learn a lot more about transformational coaching as I teach it. So the biggest challenge, I think, when we were talking about it was, well, how do I put into writing what I naturally and intuitively teach, and how do I structure that? Like, what do I put in and what do I leave out? Because if you remember, I spoke to you about, you know, when I'm teaching, it's very interactive, it's very experiential. So I'm bouncing off of the students, and it's like people asking questions, and I answer the question, and then we go off over here, or I bring in a model or a tool or an example. And it's like, well, if I'm writing, I'm just like talking, it's like a monologue. And I was like, how do I do that? How do I even start with that? So that you helped me to structure that. You helped me to understand how to actually ultimately structure the book around my own model, which is really, really helpful, so that I could actually get my head around, okay, well, this is how the chapters go. And, you know, like, right, that's the beginning, so we don't need to write that yet. We can come back to that at the end, because when we get to the end, we'll know what beginning looks like.
Yeah.
So yes, it was definitely a lot around structure that helped me. And also, I think the writing retreats were great for creating that really pure space. Not even necessarily to do a lot of the writing, but to spend time with myself and give myself space to consider and think about where I was in the book that I wanted to write as well.
There's something special about the Andalusian mountains, aren't there, Sarah? You know that you came back twice, so you thought that was the case.
Very lovely, very beautiful. And then, of course, we had both you and Cheryl on those retreats, which meant that, you know, we could do anything around the content of the book and the structure of the book, but we could also go, actually, I'm feeling like this, or can you help me work through this? Which was obviously, again, you know, like you talked about, and is it very much in my book, we can't do a task if we're not addressing what's going on for us personally. So being able to do both the task orientated and the relational whilst on those retreats and throughout the journey actually has been really valuable.
So I know you went through a big challenge when you were writing it, in terms of obviously your own, from a personal point of view, and also from a sort of structure point of view. Is there anything else that you struggled with, or anything else that you felt really worked for you?
Yeah, I remember feeling quite challenged by how to put the stories in, bring the teaching to life. Like what stories to choose, because like you said, having had like probably thousands of clients now, it was like, oh, okay, so I need to actually almost like have case studies or stories or examples. And you know, you'd perhaps say to me, oh, why don't you know, maybe you need an example of this or example of that, and my head would kind of swim with all these hundreds of possibilities. So that was initially challenging. When I went out to my community and I said to my clients and my students, you know, is anybody willing to just kind of step up and say, this was my journey, this is what happened for me? Fortunately, plenty of people did that with passion, and that was really helpful to give the examples of, actually, this is the kind of journey you can go on, this is the kind of transformations that can take place as a result of this work. So that was really helpful too. Yeah,
that's a really key point, isn't it? Because yeah, picking up on that and what you said a moment ago is that when you are used to delivering something through training, through webinars, through face-to-face training, whatever it might be, actually being able to bring it alive on the page can be quite hard, can't it? In terms of, because you can't, yeah, I'm very much like that myself. If I'm doing a webinar or training, I will bounce off other people, and actually putting it in a book where you're trying to cover every scenario, aren't you, as well as not give everything away. You know, you give a lot away, but you can't give everything because they don't experience you through the book.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And as you say, there's so much that could have gone didn't go in the book, because when you, as you say, when you're teaching, it's really alive. You know, when you're coaching, when you're doing transformational work, it's exactly that. It's alive, it's got energy, it's relational with the other person. So yeah, that was definitely challenging. And actually, as you know, I ended up with some writing in the book, which is almost what I'd call channeled writing. So some of the writing was when I was in a very more intuitive kind of almost trance-like state, where I could just kind of download from what felt like a different source. And that was really lovely to be able to weave some of that into the book as well, and speak from, I guess that's speaking from the heart when I was writing in that way too.
And how would you say that working with myself and obviously the team help you to get to that end point, apart from obviously keeping you on track and keeping you to the ultimate deadline?
Well, you know, I wouldn't have known where to start with the whole journey, like how you go from the, you know, writing a book, structuring a book, editing a book, publishing a book. Anyway, I think I remember looking at the time, thinking about the fact that there were there's obviously a number of offerings out there that you can do online and that will offer you this and offer that. But I knew that I was never going to do that. I was never going to be like, you know, able to sit down and read an online program and then do it that way. I need that personal interaction. I need that aliveness. I needed the calls. So I think all of those things made it happen in a way that I couldn't have made it happen on my own. And knowing that in writing the book that I was going to be supported, and it was, you know, to publish it, I knew all that was going to happen. I knew buying the package with you that all of that would happen. It wasn't, oh, maybe this will get published, maybe this will get this. It was like it will, as long as you write it.
So it's keeping the momentum going, isn't it, to a certain extent? Just keeping that momentum going, so you feel like you're moving forward rather than moving backwards.
Yeah, and also having the feedback too, you know, like the times when you and Cheryl read the book and got excited about it and were able to say, you know, I remember Cheryl reading it it's probably the second visit to the mountains, when there was a big chunk of the book that she could read, and she could say, you know, from a coach's perspective, like how much she was learning from it and how much she was getting from it and loving. And it's like, well, that was my reason for writing. So it was very difficult. I remember saying to you, it's difficult to write. I think she said to me, when she had a response to the book, she said something to be like, you know, people are waiting for this book. People want this book. And it was like, oh, okay, I can write for that. I can write for people who want to read it. I couldn't kind of just write for the sake of it somehow. So yeah, that really helped too.
And what's the best thing that's happened to you since your book has been published?
The best thing that's happened.
Best thing, yeah.
Well, I think just having the book and, you know, in my hands was wonderful. Having the whole celebration and the book launch was fabulous. But I think it really came together the other day when I had an inquiry from somebody who'd come across my book. I don't know whether it was social media or the internet or whatever. Anyway, she'd come across independently the book. She'd read the book. She really, really resonated with that. She said she'd been thinking about getting for years, and she couldn't quite find, when she was looking, it wasn't quite right. But the book really, really spoke to her. And then she called me, and we were able to talk about what I could support her with in one-to-one coaching. But then we got really excited about, actually, it sounded like the training would be really good for her. And of course, because she read the book, she understood what that was all about. And so it just worked perfectly for what it was intended for, which was for somebody to get to know me, get to know my work in a quite a fast way, so that when they came to me, they were ready. They were at that point where they were ready to really commit to, as you said at the beginning, that level of personal development, rather than somebody rocking up and going, oh, I want a certificate. I want to get a certificate in coach training. So, how cheap and how fast can I do that? This was like, actually, I understand what you're offering. Yeah,
I had a conversation with Emma earlier this year, actually. She said very much around her book, hers was published, as we said, 3 years ago, and she finds that now, and you're probably finding it or starting to find it with people, because people have read your book, they get to know you, they get to know your personality, because you're very much in the book, as you've said. So people get to know you, so it almost shortcuts that process, doesn't it, of actually, building that relationship with someone and then being able to help them with the next steps.
Definitely, and I'm recruiting for a September start for my coaching program now, and I'm able to give the book to the students to read before we start the program. So when they come on the program, they've a whole overview of everything they're going to learn. They've, as you said, they've got to know me a little bit. They've got to know my style. They've already worked through different exercises and questions in the book. So when they land on that day one as a group together for the training, they're so much more prepared than perhaps, I've always tried to prepare students, and I always talk about, I hope, to be up for a personal journey. This is much about your own personal exploration as it is about learning to coach, and people get it, but they don't really get it until
really good point.
they do it. So the book at least gives them an opportunity to either really resonate with the approach and go, yes, this is definitely for me, or potentially, actually, this sounds great, but not for me, which is perfect too.
It's quite funny, I was approached by a former client of mine from probably about 7 or 8 years ago, yesterday actually, and she's just about to start her coach training, and I did recommend that she went and investigated you and bought a copy of your book. So
oh, thank you very much. Excellent.
And I think it's the impact, isn't it? It's being able to make an impact both to people who may never do your training, but also people who go, actually, I need this, but I also need that. Certainly one of the things that helped me with my own coach training and also the NLP was the transformation I did on myself. For me, that was the biggest impact. As much as I could help other people, but if I couldn't help myself, how could I help others?
Exactly. And it's such a big part of my training, as you know, that we can only take our clients as far as we're prepared to go.
Absolutely.
So, when we've kind of got a limit on our own development and our own growth, and our fears kind of keep into that, we're not quite prepared to go there, we can't really take our clients there, or we can invite them to go there, but there's potentially going to be a bit like, that doesn't really add up, does it?
So it's leading by example, isn't it? It's about being able to demonstrate that you're willing to do what they're doing, what they're investing in, and what they're experiencing as well. It's a really good point.
I would say it's embodying it, so it's not just espousing the teaching, it's not just giving people the theory. I can honestly truly say that I embody the work, and I think the book helps to demonstrate that, because, as you said, I give some of my own kind of examples in that, but I also give client examples in that, which means that the reader can see, this is authentic, this is true, this is somebody who's walking their talk, and not just a bunch of theories or a bunch of tools, or because again, it's not a tool kit, this book. It's a journey, it's an approach, it's an adventure, I guess, back to yourself. So it's
So I know obviously we're in challenging times at the moment. When we had your book launch, was it back October, November last year? We
Yeah.
never imagined, when we've set our visions for 2020, we never imagined what was going to happen over the last few months. But what has been the biggest success you've had, or impact, or I don't know, what's it done that you, I know you've mentioned quite a lot of the stuff it's done already, but has it done anything else for you
Yeah.
and your business?
I think that what I'm feeling is that things actually really, really recently, probably even as recently as since summer solstice, actually, because of course, on the book launch we had a fire ceremony, didn't we? And we set our intentions, as you said, for 2020, and had another amazing fire ceremony on the solstice, and did a similar thing. And it's interesting because I think what I'm noticing right now is how things are coming together. So, the book, Find Your True North. Well, more recently, last few months or so, I've started writing True North weekly notes. So these are kind of emails that people can subscribe to, and they get an email every week, and it guides them and encourages them into self-exploration with content, prompts, questions. And now what I'm finding again is, I've got all of that now. So when I get new clients, when I get new students, I can offer them the book, I can offer them the weekly notes, the subscription. I can offer them online guided meditations, which I started doing since lockdown to support people and support their mental and emotional well-being. And it's like building the brand and the structure of the business, I guess, that because I'm going through such a huge period of transformation myself, personally and professionally, it was difficult during those 2 or 3 years to, okay, where am I going, and what am I letting go of, and what is my true north? So I've been journeying that, finding my own true north, and I feel like now that's really coming through. I feel like my client's journey now, my students' journey feels really, really clear, feels really comprehensive, feels like I can take 20 years of experience and actually cohesively go, here it is, which is great. Also, I've developed, I write a little bit in the book about the inner child approach, inner child work that I do, but I'm further developing that, and programs in that, and teaching in that. So I think it's actually, in a nutshell, it's probably that I am traveling, finding my own true north. So not unsurprisingly, you probably see it all the time, that the author sets out to write the book and goes, that's my journey.
Absolutely. So, when I wrote Becoming an Authority last year, I had to model what I do. So I had to take that step back and go, okay, so what is my journey? How do I do me? How do my clients do it? Well, and it's just bringing it all together in one place. And you do go on a journey, because you start to realize what you know, but you also start to realize what you don't know, or what you need to do better or experience in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. And we're always, aren't we, whenever we write or teach, pretty much can look at that and go, okay, that's probably for me, and that's probably for me. And lots of clients keep coming up with that, so that's probably for me too. So it's been of course a really personal journey, as well as a professional journey, definitely.
So Sarah, what advice would you give to other authors who are thinking about writing a book, or on the journey, and they haven't quite got to that end point yet?
Well, I always suggest, when anybody tells me that they want to write a book, or they're thinking of writing a book, that they contact you to look at being supported through it. Because, I think, as you said, you don't know what you don't know. So why would you put yourself through the pain and difficulty and challenges of finding that out when there's somebody who could tell you all of that? So I would say having a mentor, for me, if you're like me and you kind of like got a busy life, you've maybe got kids, family, business, and you need someone to structure that pathway for you, and that's the whole pathway. You don't want to look into how do you publish, you don't want to look into finding editors, and you just need the whole thing. Then I would definitely say go and get that package for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other advice on what's worked for you on your journey, and things you've learned about the writing process?
I think it was really great. I'd really enjoyed doing the retreats, and I think that initial process of finding out what works for you, like finding out how do you write best, are you somebody, because it's really easy, isn't it, for people to say, right, well, if you're going to write a book, you need to put aside half a day a week, or you need to put aside this much time, write this many words, and da 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 da. But of course that doesn't work for everybody. As you know, I think you sit and you type at your computer when you write. I have to write longhand. I need to write in a book, and generally speaking I like to write outside in nature as well. So those are the kind of things that if you discover those first, then you're probably going to save yourself a lot of heartache if you're sat there at a computer like, I don't know what to write. Whereas if you go and discover, okay, what works for you, is it talking into a speaker? We discovered, didn't we, just by using my iPhone I could write my words and then get them transcribed. Speak your words in nature. What time of day? Do you like to be structured? Do you just need to write when inspiration hits you? So I think many things about discovering what kind of writer you are before you tackle the whole writing task.
Absolutely.
Idea. Yeah, I mean, I journal, I encourage students to journal, and that's probably one of the ways in which I found my writing flowed. With my hardback book out, and I would write, and then I'd find myself going, "Ooh, that's a little section I've just written there," rather than going, right, now you have to write this section. Because in fact, I remember us talking about that quite a bit. About you saying to me, "Well, yeah, if you just want to dip in and if you just feel like writing about values, or you feel like writing about beliefs, or you feel like writing about childhood imprints, do that, and then you can go back. You don't have to write it in order." So again, that intuitive and creative way of writing was helpful to discover.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. So how can people find out more about you and your book, Sarah?
Well, they can go to my lovely new website, which is sarahilarianorthe.com. And of course the book's available on there, and it's available on Amazon. Funnily enough, I don't have a copy next to me, so that's very unprofessional of me. When you held that copy up and said, "I'm sure you've got a copy," I was like, no.
Note for next time.
But yes, you can definitely find out how to get in touch with me on the website. And we've got courses running. So I've got training running to professionally certify you as a coach. I've got courses running if you are a qualified coach and you want to learn more about working in the inner child process. I've got supervision, one-to-one coaching, of course. And it's all just about transformation. So if you're interested in personal transformation and you're interested in working as a coach, but much more, as you've alluded to, much more holistically and deeply, transformationally, then I'd love to hear from you and talk to you.
Brilliant. Sure. Just got one more thing I've just picked up on, Sarah. I just want to explore very, very quickly is one of the things on your journey is you rebranded you rebranded the book, you rebranded the website, you really, really stepped it up a notch. So that's just something I just want to congratulate you on whilst you're doing it. It wasn't just about writing the book, it was about everything. You couldn't have done any more, I don't think.
You're absolutely right. I think that's back to the walking your talk, isn't it? Yeah. Because in terms of personal transformations, you're spot on. I mean, I changed my name. I changed the name of the company. I changed the look of the company. I changed the look of the so everything got deconstructed and reconstructed, didn't it, during that time? I think that's the illustration, isn't it, of what a live journey it was. So I guess perhaps the thing to say to people who are going to write a book is you're going to go on a journey, you're going to go on an adventure with your book, and it might take you on quite a roller coaster ride. So be careful what you choose to write about. I chose to write about transformation and went on a transformation. So just be mindful of your topic.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for joining me today. And yeah,
You're
please,
welcome.
I do highly recommend your book. As someone who's come into the book mentoring arena from a coaching background and an NLP and a clean language background, yeah, it was amazing to support you on the journey.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.